Jack Miller sat straight in his uncomfortable chair, trying not to show his frustration. The Galactic Council chamber was beautiful, with its high dome showing the stars above and walls made of rare stones from 100 worlds. But the beauty did nothing to help the meeting. The human proposal is interesting, but perhaps too ambitious, said Representative Cull of the Duraxians. The tall, blue-skinned alien's voice was soft, but carried an edge of dismissal. Your species has been among the stars for only 50 years. These energy systems you suggest would change too much, too fast. Jack held back a sigh. 50 years was indeed short compared to the thousands of years other species had traveled space. But humans had proven themselves quick learners and problem solvers. Their energy proposal would make systems 40% more efficient. Yet, as usual, the Council treated them like children with wild ideas. With respect, Representative Cull, Jack said, keeping his voice level, we have tested these systems on 3 human worlds already. The results speak for themselves. The Duraxian waved a long-fingered hand, perhaps in human environments. But the Council must consider all worlds, all species. We will study your proposal thoroughly. Which meant they would bury it in committees for years. After 4 more hours of similar talks, the meeting ended. Jack gathered his notes and nodded politely to the other representatives as they filed out. Some, like the reptilian Tresians, nodded back with respect. Others, especially the elder races who had founded the Council, barely acknowledged him. Same story, different day, said Lisa White, his aide, as they walked the long corridor back to the Earth Embassy. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, her expression professional but tired. They'll come around, Jack said, not believing his own words. When they reached the embassy, a guard stepped forward. Sir, Military Attaché Reed has requested you meet him urgently. He's in the secure room. Jack and Lisa exchanged looks. Tom Reed rarely asked for meetings, preferring written reports. The secure room was deep in the embassy, shielded against all known listening devices. Tom was waiting, his military uniform crisp, his face grim. What's so urgent, Tom? Jack asked after the door sealed behind them. Tom placed a data chip on the table. This came through our intelligence network. It took 3 months to verify. Jack inserted the chip into a reader. The screen filled with documents, maps, and intercepted communications. As he read, his face darkened. This can't be right, he said finally, looking up. It's been triple-checked, Tom replied. The Council has been systematically blocking human expansion while allowing others to move into territories promised to us. The Duraxians have accidentally forced evacuations of 3 human mining outposts in the past year alone. Lisa leaned forward. They're treating us like a threat, or a resource to be controlled, Jack said quietly, reading further. They've been extracting our innovations while giving us outdated technologies in return. He pointed to one document. They classified us as rapid breeders with concerning adaptation rates. The 3 humans sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the discovery settling on them. What do we do? Lisa finally asked. Jack stared at the star map showing the territories denied to humans. First, we verify everything again. Then, he took a deep breath. Then we bring this to Earth. The people need to know what kind of partnership we've really joined. Tom nodded. I've prepared a secure ship. We can leave tonight. As Jack packed the evidence, his mind raced. Humanity had reached for the stars with hope and goodwill. They had joined the Galactic Council believing in a future of cooperation. Now they faced a different reality. The invitation to join the galactic community had come with hidden chains, but humans had never been good at staying chained. The ship landed at Earth's main spaceport under cover of night. Jack, Lisa, and Tom moved quickly through private channels, avoiding the usual diplomatic welcome. Within hours, they sat in a secure underground room at Earth Command with Admiral Bill Hudson, head of Earth's defense forces. So the friendly aliens aren't so friendly after all, Admiral Hudson said, his weathered face grim as he finished reviewing the evidence. The aging military leader had always been cautious about the Galactic Council. "It's worse than we thought," Jack replied. He pulled up another file on the large screen. "This is what Tom found in the restricted archives. The Council has a special committee that tracks human birth rates across all our colonies." Admiral Hudson leaned forward. "Why would they care about that?" "Because they're planning to control it," Lisa said. "Look at this draft proposal. They call it ecological stability measures, but it's really about limiting human population growth. They want to impose restrictions that would cut our birth rate by half." Tom added, "And this isn't the only thing they're hiding. We've uncovered plans for what they call cultural integration programs." Sounds nice, right? But when you look at the details, these programs would replace human education systems with Council-approved versions. Within 3 generations, most of our cultural identity would be gone. Jack watched Admiral Hudson's face darken as he scrolled through the documents. The evidence was overwhelming. What had seemed like minor treaty violations were part of a larger pattern. "We trusted them," Jack said quietly. "We shared our innovations, helped solve their engineering problems, even adjusted our own customs to fit their galactic standards. And all the while, they've been working to control us." Admiral Hudson stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the lights of New Washington glowed in the night. "I've been collecting my own evidence," he said finally. "Our intelligence ships have spotted Council observers around all our major colonies. They monitor our communications, track our ships. We thought it was standard procedure. Now I'm not so sure." He turned back to the group. "There's something else you should see." The Admiral led them through a series of security doors to a lower level. A guard checked their identities before allowing them into a large laboratory. Inside, Dr. Anna Gray was working at a complex control panel. "Dr. Gray has been leading a classified project," Admiral Hudson explained. "Anna, show them." The scientist nodded and touched a series of controls. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing a network of strange devices spread across human space. "Jump gates," Dr. Gray said. "Not like the Council versions. Ours work on a different principle. They can create connections to regions beyond Council space, areas they haven't explored or claimed yet." Jack stared at the display. "How long has this been in development?" 5 years, Admiral Hudson answered. "After the first few accidental violations of our territory, Earth leadership authorized a contingency plan. These gates have been built in secret, disguised as research stations or mining outposts." "They work," Dr. Gray added. "We've already sent unmanned probes through. There are habitable worlds out there, resources we could use, places the Council doesn't control." Jack looked at Lisa and Tom, seeing his own shock reflected in their faces. Then he turned back to the Admiral. "What exactly are you suggesting?" Admiral Hudson's voice was steady. "I'm not suggesting anything yet, but Earth's leaders need to know all the options. If the Council is planning to slowly strip away our freedom, our culture, our very future, we may need an exit strategy." Jack nodded slowly, his mind racing with the implications. "We need to show all of this to the full Earth government. Everyone needs to understand what we're really facing." "I already called for an emergency meeting," the Admiral said. "Representatives from all human colonies will attend. The question is, what will we decide to do?" The meeting room was packed. Leaders from every human colony sat around the large circular table, while others joined through secure quantum channels. The walls displayed the faces of those connecting from distant worlds. No one spoke as Jack finished presenting the evidence. "That's everything we found," Jack said, his voice echoing in the sudden silence. "The Galactic Council has been systematically restricting our growth while taking our innovations. They plan to control our population and erase our culture over time." The President of Earth, Mary Wilson, stood up. Her gray hair was pulled back tightly, her expression grave. "The question before us is simple but critical. How do we respond?" Arguments erupted immediately. Some leaders wanted to work within the Council system, to push for reforms. Others demanded military action. "We can't fight the entire Galactic Council," said the governor of Mars Colony. "They have technologies we can barely understand, and we can't just accept being slowly controlled and erased," shouted another leader. Jack looked at Dr. Anna Gray, who sat quietly at one end of the table. She had just finished explaining the jump gate network. The room fell silent as Jack stood up again. "There's a third option," he said. "Complete withdrawal." Murmurs spread through the room. "Not just from the council," Jack continued. "From all council space. We use Dr. Gray's jump gate network to move our people, our ships, our colonies, everything, beyond their reach." "Exodus," whispered someone. Dr. Gray nodded. "The gates can transport our entire population within weeks. We've already identified habitable worlds in unexplored regions. We could establish new colonies before the Council even realizes what we're doing." Admiral Hudson added, "Our intelligence suggests the Council has no idea about our jump gate technology. They think their gates are the only way to travel between star systems. Our departure would catch them completely off guard." President Wilson frowned. "You're suggesting we abandon everything we've built here. All our outposts, our stations." "Not abandon," Jack said. "Take with us. The jump gates can transport entire space stations if needed. We'd leave nothing behind but empty buildings." The debate raged for 3 days. Leaders argued about risks, about logistics, about the morality of such a massive move. But as more evidence of council manipulation came to light, opinion shifted. "What about those who wish to stay?" asked a colony leader. "They can," Jack said, "but they should know what future they're choosing." On the final day, President Wilson called for a vote. The room was tense as leaders made their choices. When the results appeared on the main screen, everyone stared in shock. Unanimous. Every human colony had voted to leave. "Then it's decided," President Wilson said. Her voice steadied despite the weight of the moment. "Operation Exodus begins immediately. All information about the jump gates remains top secret. Colony evacuations will be disguised as routine movements or exercises." She turned to Jack. "Mr. Miller, you'll return to the council as if nothing has changed. When our preparations are complete, you'll deliver our formal withdrawal." Jack nodded, feeling the enormous responsibility settle on his shoulders. "Admiral Hudson will coordinate the military aspects. Dr. Gray will oversee the jump gate activations. All other leaders will prepare their people, quietly. No panic, no public announcements until we're ready." The president looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. "This is the most significant decision humanity has made since we first left Earth. We came to the stars seeking partnership. Instead, we found chains being slowly placed around us. Now we choose freedom." As the meeting ended, Jack thought about the message he would eventually deliver to the Council. For 50 years, humanity had tried to be good galactic citizens. Now they would find their own path among the stars, without permission, without oversight, without control. The day humans would walk away was coming. For 2 weeks, strange reports filtered through the Galactic Council. Human ships disappeared from monitoring stations. Trade vessels failed to arrive at ports. Outposts went quiet, responding only with automated messages about system maintenance or scheduled upgrades. Representative Cull summoned Jack to explain these unusual activities. "Just routine exercises," Jack said with a smile. "Nothing to concern the Council." But behind that smile, a massive operation was underway. The human exodus had begun. On colony worlds, people packed only what they could carry. Space stations were quietly emptied. Ships changed course without explanation. Military vessels moved into protective positions around jump gate locations. All was done with careful planning to avoid detection. Dr. Gray worked day and night, coordinating the jump gate network. The gates had to activate in sequence, moving millions of people to safety while maintaining secrecy. "The Tretian ambassador is asking questions," Lisa told Jack one evening. "They've noticed 3 of our mining stations have stopped production." Jack nodded. "We're almost ready. 2 more days." On what humans called Day Zero, Jack put on his formal diplomatic uniform one last time. He reviewed his speech as his ship approached the Council headquarters. The timing was critical. All across Council space, the final jump gates were prepared for activation. The Council chamber fell silent as Jack walked to the speaker's platform. Every representative was present. Rumors had spread, and tension filled the air. "Honored representatives," Jack began, his voice calm. "For 50 years, humanity has been part of this council. We came in peace. We contributed in good faith." He paused, looking around the room. "You treated us as children to be controlled rather than equals." Murmurs spread through the chamber as Jack continued. "Today, I deliver humanity's formal withdrawal from the Galactic Council and all associated treaties, effective immediately." Representative Cull stood up, his blue skin darkening with anger. "This is unprecedented. You cannot simply withdraw." Jack cut him off. "We already have." At that moment, messages flooded into the Council chamber. Reports from every sector of Council space showed the same thing. Humans were vanishing. Colony worlds emptied. Stations abandoned. Ships disappearing from tracking systems. "What is happening?" demanded the Trescian representative. "Where are your people going?" Jack smiled slightly. "Beyond your reach." On view screens across the chamber, surveillance footage showed human jump gates activating simultaneously throughout Council space. The technology, completely unknown to the Council, created stable wormholes leading to unmapped regions of the galaxy. "Impossible," whispered Representative Cull. "This technology, you've hidden this from us." "Just as you've hidden things from us," Jack replied. "The difference is, we've done something about it." Reports continued to pour in. 99% of humans throughout Council space had vanished, taking their technologies and innovations with them. The most massive migration in galactic history had happened right under the Council's nose. "A small number of humans have chosen to stay," Jack explained. "They will serve as observers, reporting back to us on Council activities." The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives demanded explanations, made threats, or simply sat in stunned silence. Jack raised his hand for quiet. "Humanity offered friendship. You responded with control. We offered innovation. You responded with suppression. Now we offer you a simple truth. No species can be contained forever against its will." He stepped away from the platform. "This is not a declaration of war. It is a declaration of independence. We wish you peace, but we will chart our own course among the stars." As Jack walked out of the Council chamber for the last time, his personal communicator vibrated. A message from Admiral Hudson appeared. "All jump gates activated. Operation Exodus complete. Welcome to freedom." Behind him, the first cracks in the galactic order had begun to show. "The humans are inconsequential," Representative Cull declared to the Council 1 month after the Exodus. "Their departure is a minor disruption at most." The other Council members nodded in agreement. Humans had been part of the galactic community for only 50 years, barely noticeable in the cosmic timeline of species that measured their histories in thousands of years. But 3 months later, the first real problems appeared. On the central hub world of Tresix Prime, the power grid failed suddenly. Emergency systems activated, but technicians couldn't find the cause. The Trescian engineers finally discovered the issue. The self-repairing circuits that humans had installed 2 years earlier had stopped working. Without human maintenance crews, the systems had slowly degraded. This was just the beginning. 6 months after the Exodus, trading vessels reported navigation problems across multiple sectors. The efficient routes mapped by human navigators were becoming unreliable as cosmic conditions changed. No one else had been updating the charts. The humans had quietly taken on that task years ago. "Send messages to the humans," ordered the Council. "Offer them trade agreements for their navigation data." But the messages went unanswered. The jump gates had taken humanity beyond normal communication range. 1 year passed. On agricultural worlds, Crop failures spread as ecological systems fell out of balance. The humans had implemented subtle management techniques that no one else understood. Food prices rose across council space. The Diraxians suffered most of all. They had relied heavily on human innovations, often taking credit for them. Now their economy collapsed as systems failed and trade routes became unstable. "This is unacceptable," Representative Call, now promoted to Supreme Counselor, raged during an emergency session. "How did we become so dependent on them?" A junior aide dared to speak. "Sir, the humans were extremely efficient problem solvers. They found fixes for issues we didn't even recognize as problems. We just let them handle things." Supreme Counselor Cole's blue skin darkened with anger, but he couldn't deny the truth. 2 years after the Exodus, smaller species began to follow humanity's example. The Vex, long treated as second-class citizens by the Council, withdrew their representatives. The Moon tribes of Sector 7 stopped paying tribute. The pattern spread. Species that had endured Council control for centuries now questioned why they remained. "The humans showed it could be done," said the Vex ambassador before departing. "They showed we have a choice." The galactic stock market crashed as confidence in Council leadership plummeted. Resources grew scarce in central systems. Regional conflicts erupted over trade routes and supply chains. The most alarming reports came from observers at the edges of Council space. Strange ships had been spotted, human vessels, but more advanced than any seen before. Freed from Council restrictions, human technology was evolving rapidly. In a private chamber, the elder Council races met in secret. "We made a critical error," admitted the ancient Marazil representative, speaking the truth no one wanted to acknowledge. "We treated humans as we treated all younger species, as resources to be managed. But humans were different." "How were we to know?" demanded Supreme Counselor Cole. "We should have seen the signs," the Marazil continued. "No other species adapted so quickly. None questioned our authority so persistently. None innovated with such speed." The Council members fell silent, contemplating their mistake. "The real problem," said the Trescian ambassador finally, "is that our entire system was built on control. The humans simply showed how fragile that control really was." Outside the Council chambers, the galaxy continued to transform. Trade networks fragmented. Power structures that had stood for millennia wavered. The day humans walked away, the galactic order had begun to crumble, not with violence or war, but with a simple choice to find another path. And 3 years after the Exodus, Supreme Counselor Cull made a decision that would have been unthinkable before. The Council would find the humans and ask them to return. 3 years after the human departure, the Council chamber no longer shined with its former glory. The rare stone walls had dulled without proper maintenance. The star dome above showed flickering images as power fluctuated. Supreme Counselor Cull stood before the remaining representatives. Many seats sat empty, abandoned by species that had followed humanity's example. "The situation has become critical," Cull announced. "Regional conflicts have spread to 12 sectors. Food shortages affect 27 worlds. Our economy continues to decline." The Council members shifted uncomfortably. None wanted to admit the truth. Their mighty galactic order was falling apart. "I propose an expedition," Cull continued. "We will find the humans and bring them back." "And if they refuse?" asked the Trescian ambassador. Cull's expression hardened. "Then we use force if necessary. The stability of the galaxy is at stake." The Council voted. The expedition was approved. The most advanced ships in the Council fleet were prepared, armed with weapons not used in centuries. They would follow the quantum signatures left by the human jump gates to the edge of known space. Meanwhile, in a region humans now called the Reach, a different meeting took place. Jack Miller stood on the observation deck of Freedom Station, the massive headquarters of the new human alliance. Through the viewport, he could see dozens of colony ships arriving daily. Humans who had initially stayed behind in Council space were now fleeing as conditions worsened. Admiral Hudson joined him, looking older but energetic. The last refugees from Diraxian space arrived this morning. They report military ships gathering near the border of Council territory. Jack nodded. Our observers have sent the same information. The Council is preparing an expedition to find us. Are they coming for peace or war? Asked Lisa White, now serving as Director of Intelligence. Knowing Supreme Counselor Cole, probably both, Jack replied. They'll ask nicely first, then demand, then threaten. Admiral Hudson frowned. We should prepare our defenses. The fleet is ready. But Jack turned from the viewport, a thoughtful expression on his face. Maybe there's another approach. In a nearby system, Dr. Anna Gray stood inside a massive research facility. The chamber hummed with energy as scientists worked at control panels surrounding a glowing blue sphere. The tests are complete, Dr. Gray told Jack when he arrived. It works exactly as we hoped. Jack stared at the sphere. And you're certain about the implications? Absolutely, she replied. This energy source could transform civilization throughout the galaxy. No more resource wars, no more power shortages, but it requires cooperation to implement safely. Jack smiled slightly. Then perhaps we have something to offer our old friends after all. As the Council expedition approached the border of human space, they'd prepared for battle. Their sensors detected advanced defense systems and a large fleet of ships unlike any they had seen before. Supreme Counselor Cole stood on the bridge of the lead vessel. Send the message. Tell the humans we demand their return to Council space and the sharing of their jump gate technology. But before the message could be sent, alarms sounded across the Council fleet. A single human ship had appeared directly in front of them, somehow bypassing all their detection systems. This is impossible, Cole whispered. How did they? A communication request flashed on the main screen. Cole hesitated, then nodded. The screen activated to show Jack Miller's face. Supreme Counselor Cole, Jack said with a slight smile. Welcome to human space. I understand you've had some problems since our departure. Cole's blue skin darkened with anger. You have violated Council law. Your withdrawal has caused chaos throughout. Jack held up a hand, cutting him off. We left legally under the terms of the original treaty. As for the chaos, perhaps that shows how much you actually needed us, despite treating us as lesser beings. Cole fell silent, unable to argue with the truth. We have a proposal for you, Jack continued, one that might benefit us both. Would you care to discuss it? Behind him on the screen, a blue glow illuminated Jack's face, the same energy that Dr. Gray had been studying. Energy that could save a crumbling galactic civilization, or help build a new one. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a small space station positioned between the Council fleet and human territory. Supreme Counselor Cole brought 5 elder representatives. Jack Miller, now president of the Human Alliance, came with Admiral Hudson, Dr. Gray, and Lisa White. The room was tense as the two groups faced each other across a simple table. 3 years ago, humanity abandoned its responsibilities to the galactic community. Cole began, his voice stiff. We demand your return to Council space and... We're not here to discuss demands, Jack interrupted calmly. We're here to discuss possibilities. Dr. Gray stepped forward, activating a holographic display in the center of the table. A glowing blue sphere appeared, pulsing with energy. This is what we call Nexus energy, she explained. We discovered it in unexplored space, in a region your charts never mapped. It's an energy source more powerful than anything in known space. The Council representatives leaned forward, unable to hide their interest. With this energy, Dr. Gray continued, power shortages across the galaxy would end. Ships could travel faster. Worlds could be terraformed in months instead of centuries. And you're offering this to us? Asked a Tretian representative, suspicious. Jack smiled. We're offering partnership, real partnership, not control disguised as cooperation. He stood up, looking each Council member in the eye. Humanity will share our innovations and help rebuild the failing galactic infrastructure, but only as true equals with guarantee of autonomy. Cull's face darkened. You expect us to change the entire structure of the Council, traditions that have existed for thousands of years. Yes, Jack said simply, because those traditions are why we left. Those traditions are why your galactic order is crumbling. Silence filled the room. Finally, the ancient Morizil representative spoke. Perhaps it is time for change, he said quietly. The old ways have failed us. Look at what has happened in just 3 years without the humans. For 5 days, the negotiations continued. Council representatives argued, threatened, and finally began to listen. Jack remained firm on the core principles: true equality for all species, freedom from cultural control, and the right of any species to chart its own path. On the final day, a new agreement took shape: the Galactic Charter. Under this charter, Jack explained to his team, the old council becomes a true cooperative of equals. No species can dictate cultural norms to another. Technology sharing is encouraged but not forced. And most importantly, every member has the right to leave if the agreement is violated. Admiral Hudson looked skeptical. Can we trust them to honor this? Jack nodded toward the viewport, where a human ship was demonstrating Nexus energy technology. They need what we've discovered. And frankly, we need them too. The galaxy is too big for any species to face alone. 1 month later, human ships began returning to Council space, not as subjects returning to masters, but as partners coming to help. They brought engineers to repair failing systems, navigators to update star charts, and scientists to share new technologies. On worlds suffering from crop failures, human ecological experts arrived with solutions. On stations with failing power, Nexus energy systems were installed. Slowly, the chaos began to subside. In the Grand Council chamber, newly renovated and shining once more, representatives from 87 species, including those who had left after the human exodus, gathered to sign the new charter. Supreme Councilor Cole, humbled by the near collapse of the civilization he had led, signed first. Jack Miller signed second. The day humans walked away, the old galactic order crumbled. Jack said afterward to Lisa as they watched the celebration. But from its ruins, we've built something better. Something that might actually last. Across the stars, humans and aliens began working together, not as rulers and ruled, but as equals finding their way forward in a vast and challenging universe. The lesson had been learned. True stability comes not from control, but from cooperation between equals. And that was a lesson worth the journey.